Okay, good morning. Uh, okay, as a, the how I want to take you through this presentation is, uh, see, let me give you a brief background. We started Disha India in 2006, right? And and there's a story behind why we started, what was the purpose behind why we formed. Uh, later, इसको बाद में करते हैं इसको. हाँ जी. So why we started India, and then how the journey unfolded, right? So I will just take you through this journey, and I will focus on the on aspects like where we got some breakthroughs, right? And how we got those breakthroughs in this whole journey of making education more experiential and more meaningful for children, right? So yeah, I have not designed any activities for this session, but I think I, from my experience, I think it will be because we have now almost 20 years working in this whole field of experiential learning as pedagogy, and I would like to share some of the key steps, like how, when it really worked, what really worked for us, and why it worked for us, right? That I think will be more. That's what I think will be more helpful for all of us. Okay, the first of all, let me share you the background. See, I was a very good basketball player in my school, right? I represented my school, I represented my city, I went and played state, right? But that time see, and also when I was playing basketball, when I used to play basketball, I've experienced one thing. We all were more engaged on the court. We were very engaged. We used to be very engaged, right? We learned a lot. The whole experience of playing basketball was, if I now reflect back, it really shaped I can say, very core of myself, right? Very transformational experience we went through. बड़ा अच्छा लगता था खेला, learned a lot. But question was, I used to think, why our classrooms are not so engaging and joyful? That was, I really used to ponder a lot on that question. What can make, see, in our time we used to get only 2 periods in a week to play, right? And we used to look forward those 2 periods. And we used to stay back and then play every day. But the idea that it was at that time that struck me, what can we do about this? So that's where so if you ask me this question, when I left my school, actually I left with this question. How can we make it more learning more meaningful, engaging, joyful? And I always, for me, the benchmark was basketball, right? So I started with this. Next, correct. So the big question was, because see, one thing what really made that experience very effective for us was, it was very real. Because if you see, when you used to play, it was very real. It was very, I will say, it was, the feedback was there and then. Results were, you could see the results or the outcomes of your result there and then, right? It was very inclusive, teamwork. So and actually, we used to see a lot of demonstration happen on the court. I still think in school only 2 or 3 kinds of teachers used to demonstrate things by doing. It was either sports teacher or art teacher or dance teacher. इन्हीं 3 classes में demonstration होती थी, right? So So that really impacted me a lot. That made me think a lot. And that's how I used to say, how can we make real life experiences as source of learning and teaching? That was the big question when we started. And this is with this thing I started Disha India in 2006. How can we make it? And the first project that we started working was in 2006 was the Heritage Experiential Learning School. It was in, actually I can say very, I can say with a lot of, I learned a lot. I learned a lot while leading this whole project of Heritage Experiential Learning, because I worked very intensively there. Disha India worked very intensely for 10 years. And we learned by making mistakes, right? And I'm very grateful that that's what our learning is. It's by doing there, by implementing. That was our lab where we learned, right? So the first project we worked, and for 10 years we just worked with one school, right? So, and in this whole journey, one theory that we started with, and which really helped us a lot, this whole experience, because जब हमने start किया ना, I don't think we had an idea of what is an experiential learning. We used to do a lot of activities those days, but I'm very sure now when I reflect, but collection of activities is not an experiential learning, right? So that's where we, the first thing that we, so one theory that really helped us, इसको ना screen mode पे कर दीजिए, नीचे, no, this one, left. The one theory that really helped us in making, to start our journey and to how to figure out things was this whole Dr. Kolb's experiential learning cycle. That's where we started with. And so this whole cycle, we tried to, we worked around this. We started this whole, we started designing our work around this. And if you see, there are 4 very different stages of this cycle. Fine, I will not go into details, right? So, but the key is that experience is at the core, right? And then how you process the experience and what you do with the experience is experiential learning. Experiential learning is not about experiences. That is one insight I got during this whole journey. It's not about just experiences, but what you do with an experience is an experiential learning. That's what we realized. And I think this cycle helped us to process the experience, or to pull out the learnings, or to construct meaning from the experiences. So that's where this really helped us. And generally people think it's, we go with experience first, and then reflection, and then conceptualization, and then application. It's not about actually, if you see experiences at the center, and just, can you click once? Yeah, one more. So if you see, there's one very key insight was, it's about experiencing, not experience. The starting point is, how can we make children experience the experience, right? And that's where it starts, the EL's experiential learning starts from there. So experiencing, reflection, conceptualization, and then what you do with that knowledge, right? So this cycle really helped us to understand how to go about. And believe me, after 20 years, this still works, this theory works for us. Simple, but I think it helps you to put things in a structure, in a framework, and ask the right. So that's why I always say, generally if you see in this whole cycle, people confuse experiencing with experience. That's where we go wrong. Experiencing is very important. Experiencing, if you ask me the right word for experience, it's about creating that immersion, where children totally get immersed into something, where an immersion, and you don't experience immersion with all kind of experiences. So that's why it's key, how to design experiences where children experience the experience or immersion or experiencing. That's where is the first thing which I will say was the key insight for us. And then of course, what you do after it. So this is whole cycle of reflections, conceptualization, the whole once how to conceptualize, create meaning, create theory out of the whole experience, and then to do something about that knowledge. So this was a simple basic cycle which has worked and which is still working. Yeah. Second thing that we really realized, and what was again a big breakthrough for us, was what I did is this whole experience and the experiencing and the doing part. That was how can we create, if we can connect this whole experiences and experience and doing part to the local context of the child. Means the context to which child is connected to, right? And see, for the child, the context is school, context is neighborhood, his or her own home, city. So I think that what we realized was generally what we try to do is we try to get everything inside the classroom to create a experience, to create projects or to design experiential learning. That's what we thought was it's not easy to get everything inside the classroom. What we felt was if we really take teaching and learning and connect it to the real world of the child and to something which the child is connected to, I think that makes it more, I say, very organic, very easy. Just that we need to work on the structure. So if we can do this part in the local context of the child, I think experiential learning has the potential to be really, truly a contextual learning. See, in last 20 years, I have experienced, I think you all must have seen a lot of programs on personalized language program, personalized skill building program for children, personalized assessments for children. And I think if we can connect this teaching and learning to the experiences or the context of the child, if we can bring the child's experiences in the teaching and learning, that has a potential of making it truly a contextual learning. And believe me, if you see even SGEF 2005 and even this national education policy, I think one of the key expectations that they have is how can we make teaching and learning contextual and personal for each and every child. अब मुझे लगता है कि अगर हम जो क्लासरूम की टीचिंग एंड लर्निंग को बच्चे के कॉन्टेक्स्ट से to his or her context, that has a potential of making it truly good. And it has worked. I will share with you how it has worked, because it is just, I think, a change in the way we look at things. Otherwise, if you see curriculum or teaching and schools came later. First was the real world, right? Curriculum came from the real world of the child. What we need to teach came from the real world. So, and then with time, we lost connection with the real world, and it became more teaching and learning inside the classroom. Our experience is, if we can connect back, it becomes very effective and it flows. Just that that connection needs to be built. So this is again something I thought it was a major breakthrough for us. Yeah, next. One more. Okay, there's something missing here. Okay, no, go back. This one. And why I say, if you see some of the challenges that we face, or something, some of our aspiration is to make contextual, for making education contextual. Why I say the local context of the child is important, Because the local context, when I say local context means the immediate the environment of the child, right, is very unique. We say each and every child is unique, and I say the context of each and every child is unique. So that we need to see, that we need to understand very well, right? It's very real and dynamic. You don't need to do anything else to make it real and dynamic. The context is dynamic. The context is real. It's in, so we just need to connect to it. We say we need to make projects integrated. I'm saying already the context of the child is very integrated and very alive. Nothing. We just, because your maths, physics, chemistry, they came very late. In real life, the problems are not that this is a math problem or this is a science problem or this is a language. In real life, there are problems. You need to solve them. I'm saying the context is real. We can't say this project is for science or this project is for maths. Context, the project or expedition has to be designed keeping in mind the child context. Three things are very important, we realize, in this whole journey: child, curriculum, and the context. I think if we can somehow connect these three, I think experiential learning becomes very effective, and it's very it works then. And I'm also saying it's very personalized and authentic for each child, because हर बच्चे का घर अपना है, हर बच्चे का neighborhood अपना है. If you see, we have done a lot of expedition in the neighborhood of children. Work wonders, right? It's a safe place for the child to start with. Very safe place for child to do experiments, to fail and to learn from his or her failures, right? He or she is already immersed into it. So हमें जो challenges है ना, to how to make it engaging inside the classroom, it's there. We just need to connect with it. So let me share you first a small clip, like how one expedition we did in our village, in our community school, and this expedition is on the curricular concepts on adaptation and how species adapt to the ecosystem. That was the concept we were working towards, and this is how they went about it. And that's how you will see how this you will see the evidence of how teaching and learning become contextual. experiment that they did. And in the end, this is the book that they came up with on the birds of the village. This was launched last year. So, and see, so it is not only that they learned about the science concept, but even reading, writing, illustration, presentation. So, and also in the process, the whole systemic understanding of how the different ecosystem of their village and what they can do about it to make them better. And so a lot of things, it's more beyond the curriculum that they learn during this expedition. So that's what, and this is how the whole teaching and learning also become very contextual and very personalized content. Right? So this is this is how we try and design learning expeditions for students. And also, like right now, they are working on the trees of the village. Right? They are working on the local history of the village. And I'm saying, similarly, if you ask me, in 7-8 years back in Gurgaon, we did this expedition. The heritage school students did this expedition on how bike friendly is our Gurgaon city, and that played a very important role in this starting this movement of Rahagiri in Gurgaon, right? And that's how I think the service element, because when you do something for your work and when you develop understanding of their own local ecosystems or local context, I think what you also get clarity and ideas what you can actually do about service. Otherwise, it's not easy to find projects for service, right? But when you work on the expedition, the ideas really come up, and then you can do something about it. That is one. So. Okay. In this whole journey, one big challenge for us was, fine, we had this learning cycle and all with us, but designing experience, learning experience was something, it was tough, it was challenging. Because as I shared in the beginning also, collection of activities is not a learning experience or expedition. And projects also, I don't know, but we struggled with this whole idea of how, because one, generally they see these kind of learning projects or expedition more as extracurricular. But we were very clear from the day one that we want to use it as a pedagogy for teaching and learning inside the classroom. We want to see how we can take the curriculum, understand the context in which we have to deliver this expedition, and design it accordingly. So curriculum, context and child, that was the three things which we were seeing how to go about. And that is where how to design expedition, keeping these three things in mind was a struggle. And it's here where I think what helped us was this whole idea of learning expeditions. Because one of the organization that was working that time in this area, and they still work a lot, is the expeditionary learning, and we happened to go and attend some of the workshop there, and it's in US, and they are working with the public's education system there. That's where we got the idea of how the framework and the practices and protocols that we can use to make it happen inside the class. That helped us a lot. And also, if you see this whole idea of expedition, what is an expedition? So this expeditionary learning framework, and I have we have a design framework, complete design framework, expedition design framework, which I will keep a copy here. If you want, you can go through it. How we went about this, using this whole, on one side we have experiential learning cycle, on the other side we have curriculum and the context, how we went about designing this learning expedition. What is a learning expedition? So, see, this whole term of expedition came from outbox. right? Again, if you see in outbound, if we go for, let's say, any outbound experience. So what are some of the things which are what is so unique about when we go for an outbound experience, if I have to ask? What are some of the things which you experience, what makes outbound engaging and challenging for you? If someone can share.
Kind of freshness comes.
Freshness comes.
In nature.
Nature. When we go for an outbound expedition, and I'm very sure you all must have experienced an outbound expedition. What is so unique that what struck you about an outbound expedition? Engagement. But what gets that engagement?
It's teamwork.
Teamwork.
You're outside confines of a classroom and you really see something and you have your group around with you. So that's a lot engaging, lot real.
Lot real, engaging.
When we go for outbound expedition, actually the things which we learn from the book, it is in more depth than because what we see, what we infer, we can have our own opinion about it. We can make inferences when we see the things.
Okay. We can observe and make inferences when we're in outbound. Lot of curiosity, but what generates that curiosity?
Freedom to explore.
Sorry? Freedom to explore
that new environment.
In the new environment. See, some of the things, this whole idea of expedition came from outbound, right? And it was first started by Kurt Hahn, right? Some of the key things which this expedition learning framework took from the outbound was, see, one thing very important thing in outbound is your goal is very clear to what we need to achieve, right? And that goal is very real and authentic. ऐसा नहीं है ना कि पहाड़ की चोटी चढ़ने that can't be simulated. It's real, it's there in front of you, whatever be the challenge. So it's very clear, real and authentic. So you know this is what we need to achieve in this expedition. Second, expedition happens in crews, right? In teams. That whole thing makes, because generally solo expedition also happens, but generally expedition happens in teams, right? That's second. Third thing is you need to develop skills to achieve that goal. So skill building is a very important part of an expedition. Like whichever expedition you are going, like when a team goes for an expedition, they spend time to build skills and the background knowledge. They both, right? Reflections are very important. It's not just plan. It's continuous planning and review are very important as part of expedition, right? So there are few things which they took from the outward bound theory, and then we saw how we can design expeditions keeping in mind the now in the teaching and learning framework. So if you ask me, it was very clear when we started this expedition, in the end we need to create awareness in our village about ecosystems and birds. The objective was very clear. Objective was to how we can conserve and build awareness about our different ecosystems in the village. So clear, tangible, authentic goal. Very clear what are some of the curricular skills that you want to achieve. So the skill development, if you ask me, illustration workshop, writers workshop, readers workshop are very important to achieve an expeditionary goal, right? And again, even in the school, the expeditions happen in crews. It can't happen in duty. Even the class framework, the sitting structure changes accordingly, right? So, and reflections are the continuous part. Like reflections are very important part of the whole process. Like because they say a plan is one thing, but continuous planning is what makes it happen. So, and also how to connect making sure each and every child is gets chance to share his or her feelings and thoughts and ideas in this whole process. So these are things which we took from the outward bound and have designed the framework for teaching and learning in this school, the curricular concepts and skills teaching through expedition, and that's why we call them learning expeditions. And it has been able to create that kind of curiosity, that kind of challenge, that kind of engagement in the school. Fine. Okay. So I just tried to give you an idea of experiential learning and learning expedition, and these expeditions, some of the expeditions that we have worked in last few years are like about how biodiverse is Gurgaon as a city. That is the expedition we worked on again for grade 4, right? We have worked on history of Delhi, right? That's again as that expedition where they go and explore the whole idea of continuity and change, like what changed and what has not changed in last let's say many years in Delhi. So this is how we try and design expeditions. Right. Now the question is how to make it happen, because challenge काफी है, right? And one of the biggest challenges we experience is it's not about the belief or the understanding of the theory. It's about how to make it happen in the school structure. That is something which we also struggled, and some other thing which helped me I would like to share with you, and then we can have a Q&A. Yes. So this structure, and we call it iceberg, really gave us an insight. Generally what happens is we try and work at the first two levels, events and the patterns levels, when we try and bring a change. How to change events, or how to see the trends and accordingly make sure we adapt to the trends, right? But my learning is real leverage for change lies here, the structural changes. Because see, the beliefs and the assumptions also take time to change, for change. But structure is the area where the leverage lies the maximum. Because some of the structure that really we should think about, I think first is the curriculum structure, because this can't be an extracurricular. As if it is an extracurricular, it will not sustain for long. That I am very sure. So curricular structure, obviously your timetable plays a very important role. Then even the role of a teacher. What do you expect from the teacher, from your teacher? Because if you are trying to design an experiential learning framework, I think the role needs to be redefined of a teacher. That is again a structural change that we need to think of, right? I think assessment we need to think of. How to integrate the whole idea of the team of teachers coming together and designing the expedition, the complete team planning, teachers working as a team. Because one change that we did in Heritage, which really worked for us, was, what we did was, language teacher and the expeditionary teacher was common. Like either it was the language teacher who was leading the expedition, or the expedition teacher who was teaching language also. That structural change made it very easy for us to integrate language and the expedition. Right? So this structural change, we need to look at it. I think the real leverage for change lies here. Again, from my experience. Because if you see, just can click again. And the theory says, when we see and we actually react to events. When we study trends, we try and adapt to it. But real transformational change, we need to work at these two levels, structure and assumptions. So, like simple assumption of trying to get everything inside the school. For let's try, if you see 2 minutes, we try and get too many things, like whether it's different kinds of labs. Like in our community school, what we are now doing is we want to do a cycle workshop, or we want to use cycle as one of the expedition where they learn through designing an cycle. So instead of opening a lab in a school, there was already a mechanic in the village. So our children go and do all the experience part there, and he's the expert. Okay. So that is the big structural change we are trying to see, how we can use the resources. And you will find, if you see a city is a big lab. If in your city you will find all kind of experts, all kind of labs. You don't need to create everything inside the school. That's a structural change. Second thing which helped me was, generally when we try to think of change now, what we want to change and how we want to bring the change. We start planning both together. And that is the limitation, because if you start thinking of how along with the what, that becomes, because see, how you then start seeing the challenges, so then gradually start bringing your what, you start lowering down your what part. And my always advice to people is, don't think or plan of what and how together, keep them separate. First plan what, then think of how, then go back to what. So that's a, but you can't think of plan both together. That becomes very limited. So please do what and how needs to be separated. We need to learn how to manage this creative tension of what and how. Yeah, fine. So what I was saying was, this is a small booklet that we have created on learning designs or design principles for expeditions. So I have few copies and I will leave it here, so whoever is interested can take a copy. This is the design framework that we have used for designing. Again, it's all available on our website. There is an open resource library you can download from our website. Some of the expeditions we did with educators on this whole idea of making education contextual. Recently we did an expedition in Banaras on history with teachers, and they created this resource for their grade 6 students. So something which really worked, and there was something on Surat Fort we did an expedition. So we are really encouraging teachers first to experience this and design very contextual resources for their own cities and for their own context. So like in Delhi we have a very interesting resource created by the teachers for grade 6 students on history. So I will leave it here, a copy, you can go through it. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to share. Now if we can, I think we can have some questions.
You said that the what and how don't fit together, right? Can you give an example of maybe one expedition that you designed and how thought process what and how?
The biggest challenge in expeditions are, we have to take children out. We have to connect with the outside world, whether it's like either take them out for the experience or getting the experts. See, in a given structure like these things are, logistics and operations become very challenging, right? And that's how we stop it. The first thing, the action we get from students, this is not possible to take so many students for, if we want them to go and see the, we wanted them to compare Chandni Chowk and Connaught Place, because we were studying British and Mughal period. But can we compare Chandni Chowk and the British Bazaar as a bazaar, two different bazaars? So the question was, how can we take students to Chandni Chowk? It's very difficult. Taking them to, see, these सब चीजें ना, I agree it's not easy, but it's not that. If you really think it's, first you agree whether you want to do it or not. Principally, should we do it or not? One thing. Second, how to do it? Then we need to work there very creatively. It's possible. I'm saying all these things, whether it's logistics, whether it's assessment, whether it's doing reading and writing through expedition, structure reforms.
I might only we need to plan them separately. And is it possible have a separate team, not as a common team, because then again it becomes very challenging.
Can we, thank you, Parminder, can we take questions later, along with the fireside chat, because we have at 12:30 we want to start that, is that okay? So, thank you, Parminder, for the wonderful and deep insights into experiential and learning.
Just wanted to take a minute. Sir. So, as we just transition onto our next session, we've had an engaging conversation, and for those who are just pouring in right now, this is just a reminder that the way the day is planned is that we move on to a very, very hands-on fireside chat. We've had some questions that have poured in to our next two panelists, and through the rest of the day, we have some beautiful hands-on learning sessions planned where we will actually be building out a project in real time that's planned for the 3 to 4:30 session. Whatever that Parminder has taught us in the last half an hour or so, we'll try to put it to practice in 25 minutes, and then probably Devi, that probably we'll get an answer to your question, what and how is it really different, probably when we do that activity hands-on. So if I can just request Vedant to invite our next two panelists, and we go to a very, very hands-on chat.